Well, it is probably not surprising that a man who has long been arguing that China is eating our lunch would throw up at a Pacific trade deal that he argues is still going to put China in the driver's seat. China's not part of that. It's a sort of a counter to that. And it's going to be an uphill fight in this country. Eric Trump, Donald Trump's son, with us right now. I'm sure your dad is of the view we shouldn't pass this, right?
Yeah. $250 billion. That's the number. $250 billion is a trade deficit with China. He's sick of seeing the jobs go overseas. He's sick of seeing our money go overseas. He's sick of seeing...
The theory behind this pact is it would mitigate that.
Yeah, I don't know if it does, right? Nothing we've done thus far has mitigated. I mean, I think we should try and get employment back into the U.S. We should stop shipping jobs over there. We should stop manufacturing all our products over there. You know, it's interesting. You know, the boats come into the harbors, right? L.A. and New York, and they're totally full. And they leave, and they're 20 feet taller because they're totally empty, and they're going back over. And, you know, he's a patriot. He wants to see the nonsense deals with all these countries stop. And, you know, he wants fair trade. He doesn't want free trade.
Yeah, but it also seems to me, Eric, that he would bring on a trade war because he says that China isn't playing fair. And he's also argued, and this is a point many agree, even your dad's critics, that China needs us a lot more than we need them. So he would stick it to them if they keep, you know, abusing this. Wouldn't that lead to a trade war? And wouldn't that lead to violent disruptions in the markets?
No, listen, I think that's the fair part of it, right? Fair. It's got to work for them. It's got to work for us. Everybody has to be happy. But when we're losing, again, $250 billion a year, shipping money that, quite frankly, could go into our own economy, I mean, you see how dismal some of the numbers are.
Explain
some of the employment
that to Americans,
numbers.
though. Let's say your father gets his way, becomes president. And his argument is that we just stop buying their stuff. We don't need their stuff. But that means a lot of stuff, the price for a lot of stuff, go up a lot.
Yeah, listen,
does he think Americans are ready for that?
You're always going to need to buy some stuff, right? At the same time, if we could actually increase manufacturing in our own country, we wouldn't have to buy the same amount of
Americans are subjected to pricier stuff, right?
Sure. Listen, there's going to have to be some balancing act. Again, fair trade. Not free trade, fair trade. And I think that's what he's all about. He doesn't want to see our coffers emptied by every country around the world. He doesn't want to see us get ripped off by every country around the world. We're constantly taken advantage of, and he's a patriot, and he's totally against it.
How does your father decide who he talks to in the press?
You know what? He's got a great gut, and he's got a great feeling, and he talks to people who treat him fairly, and hey, listen, sometimes
he never comes on this show.
But he does love you.
No,
you know that. Yes, he does.
No,
I can promise you he does.
Very early on, when you were mentioning those Vegas odds during the break that he was a 50-1 shot at becoming president, everyone, including many here on that point out, were laughing at his prospects and saying it wouldn't go anywhere. And we were one of the few who said it was. So I just wonder whether it's something I said that upset your father.
I will get him back on. I promise you that.
Does he not like Italian-American anchors?
I think he loves Italian-American anchors.
We'll talk to him because I'm very angry at him right now.
I absolutely will.
It will be a long day. Now, let me ask you about you. I mean, when the talk was that you and the family were very nervous about a year ago when he would tweet and say all this stuff. And I think the read was, Dad, kind of cool it. Now, I think you and your sister in particular said that never happened. But here he is running for president, and he's tweeting even more outrageous stuff. But it is registering. That rage is registering, no doubt about it. Do you ever try to dial him back, or do you think, Dad, it's working?
Honestly, the exact opposite. In fact, somebody published that story saying, we all got this little conspiracy together to get him.
I could picture that.
There was no one more supportive of the man than me. I mean, he's my best friend. He's my mentor. I happen to work with him every single day. I mean, you know how, on a personal level, you, of all people, know how close we are. The guy's
so no one said, Dad, dial it back.
Even as a father, he was never the beat around the bush type father. I mean,
but are you surprised where he stands now? Is he surprised where he stands
in terms of the polls?
How well he's doing?
Listen, he's double-digit polls to everybody. He's doing phenomenally well. You look at just the national polls. I mean, he's doing the best in the national polls, which, quite frankly, are the polls that mean the most.
Why do you think that is?
Listen, I think people like the fact that somebody's willing to come out and speak like a normal individual. He relates to people. He's a very pragmatic guy. He's a no-nonsense, no BS type guy. And I think that really resonates after a lot of lip service and a lot of political speak for many, many years. I think that really hits home. And quite frankly, it's not just on the Republican side of the aisle. It's on both sides.
Oh, no, you're right about that. Now, did you go to Wharton like your dad?
I went to Georgetown.
You went to Georgetown. No slouch in your own right. Now, here's where people are getting a little concerned about your father's tax plan. It's very cuts to rates across the board. But one of the rates he has is a 0% rate that would lift to 75 million, the number of American households who don't pay any taxes. So the criticism you hear of that, Eric, is everyone should have skin in the game, some skin in the game, and now half of all American families won't. And their concern is you don't have to charge them 20, 25, 35%. You don't even have to make it 5%, but everyone should pay a little so they all have a stake in this.
Well, listen, there's so many people who aren't paying anything, quite frankly.
No, you're right about that. You're right. But do you think that everyone should pay a little?
I think it's actually the correct plan. Listen, at that number,
that means half aren't paying any federal income tax.
It's such a low number, but everybody's doing so much better off. I mean, I think actually where my father will be best, and it's kind of funny, maybe it's the thing that hasn't been talked about the most. I mean, I think the tax plan's probably been talked about more than this, but I think what he'll do going into government and reducing waste will be unlike anybody else in history.
But he's got to spell it out, right? I know he's upset about the $1 million soccer field at Gitmo, as were we all.
Listen,
but
when American is captured by an ISIS terrorist, right, they get put in a cage.
No, I understand that.
To death,
but besides the $1 million soccer field, has he proposed shutting, or do you think he should propose shutting down agencies, whole departments? Spell it out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at some point we certainly will need to spell it out.
Can you tell me when? Because he isn't telling me.
We will come up with a plan, and he will come up with a plan.
Give me a date, time.
I can't give you but we will come up with a plan. He will come up with a plan. And hey, honestly, but aside from plans, when he gets in there and he sees the nonsense, it will come to an end. When you're used to running your own company and every single day you're negotiating for every single penny, believe me, you'll take that to the White House. And that's what the man will do, quite frankly, better than anybody. I see it every single day. I see the way he negotiates. He will be absolutely incredible.
Would you have a role in his administration? Would you want one?
You know, we've got a great company, and I've mentioned that to you many times. But you know, we're opening hotels everywhere in the best residential buildings and everything. But listen, if he ever needed me by his side, I'm there. I would take a bullet for the man. I would jump off the bridge for a man.
That's something crazy.
I mean, he is the absolute greatest. But he will put an end to waste.
You think he's going to go all the way?
I think, no doubt about it.
Really?
No doubt about it.
Well, I'll give you my best. Just remind him I'm Neil Cavuto. Used to talk to him all the time.
I'll get him down there. I'll go give him
I'll give him a little
nudge when I get back to the office.
Because I'm offended, and I'm deeply hurt. I'm going to cry.
He does truly love it.
Well, I'm not going to cry.
He's not,
seriously.
He's
Very
not
good.
The crying type. Come on, guys.
Very good seeing you again.